Welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since I posted the video where we put the boat back in the water, and then I haven't posted anything, not because I'm not busy doing stuff, just because it's all kinds of little things. So rather than do one video per project, I thought I would munch up a bunch of little projects into one video. So if it seems a little disjointed, that's why. The boat is currently in the water, but is not quite yet sailable. I have a number of things to do. Today is the long weekend in May, and I am on board trying to sort out a few electrical things. My bilge pump was not working, so I diagnosed the fault to being a faulty bilge pump. I actually put power directly from the battery to the pump, and it's not doing anything, so the pump itself is busted. But I thought, while I'm in there, if I'm going to replace the bilge pump, the wiring is probably going to need to be replaced. The switch is going to need to be replaced, and so I got into it. This is the panel that sits over the engine compartment behind the companionway steps. So we've got a DC volt monitor. We have a big frickin' hole that doesn't do anything. We have the bilge pump switched so it goes auto, off, and manual. And the manual side doesn't click on. So I don't think that's supposed to be the way it is. Because I can't see, if you wanted to put it on, you'd have to stand there and hold it. And that wouldn't be a good thing. And the engine room lights. There's absolutely nothing hooked up to the engine room lights. There was a switch here. It has a sticker. Our price, with nothing written on it. I have no idea what that was, so I just took it out. But that's the state of electronics on the back of that panel. I think I will probably replace this. I don't need to have a panel with holes in it and discharge of oil stickers on it. I'll keep that. But pretty much everything else on that gets ditched. So I thought I would show you what I'm up against in terms of the electrical. Come have a look. So come aboard, sir. So this is my engine room. That's Suzy, the Isuzu diesel. It kind of looks old and grody, but it's only got about 600 hours on it. I think most of the grodiness is just external from the salt environment. But the problem I'm dealing with is the rat's nest of wiring. This cable here, the cluster here, all belongs to the motor, but everything else is just thrown together by previous owners. I don't know how much of this is original stuff, but I doubt it. It's just too poorly done. There's wires going in every direction, none of them labeled. The bilge pump actually had 2 Moret on the switch wires and then thrown down in the water, so I'm sure that probably didn't do the pump any good. And I found this. This is bilge pump wiring here. And there's a big old Moret filled with silicone. You see that? Big old Moret filled with silicone. I'm about to pull that out. And I will buy a new bilge pump and wire it in properly. And then as time goes by, I'll figure out what the rest of that mess is and deal with it. This is the back of the instrument panel for the engine, obviously. This is for the old autopilot, telepilot, whatever. This guy here. But I don't have the computer that runs the thing, so it's basically junk to me. I'll probably get rid of that. Today we've got a special guest on board with us. This is Mr. Don Popes. Hi, Don.
Hello there.
And he's here to help me install my VHF radio and antenna. In particular, he brought a piece of equipment called a SWR meter, which is very important for radio, to make sure that I'm not burning my radio up. And then he helped me pull the wire. So I'll show you what we did. Come have a look. So this is the cable bundle that comes down from the mast, and this is the coax from the new antenna that I put up there. It's LMR 400, which is very stiff, and so we threaded it back where the old cable used to go, which goes down inside here, and then right here, you see this is a bit of a cluster. A lot of these cables are going to be pulled out of here once I figure out what they do or don't do anymore. And that black one there is the new LMR 400, which goes forward through that hole right there. It goes all the way along, and then through the hanging locker, and then back inside here, back in there, and up to my new radio, which is right there. And we've tested it. It works nicely. You can actually hear Victoria transmitting, which is awesome. The day is pretty much spent, so Dawn and I are going to go home and enjoy the company of our respective wives and just enjoy a nice quiet evening relaxing. So once again, thanks Dawn for coming out and bringing your equipment with you. It's another day, and today I was in for a little bit of surprise. When I left after installing the radio the other day, the wind picked up and we had a bit of a windstorm blow through here. And when I came back today, I realized that one of my neighbors had done me a huge favor. The mainsail, when we bent it on, we didn't actually hoist it up the mast that day because it was too windy. And so when we put it on, we ran the lugs up just as far as we needed to get the sail bent on, and attached the tack and the clew, and then wrapped the sail wraps around the sail and the boom to keep it in good order. Now I have misplaced or cleverly thrown out my sail cover, and I can't find it, so I'm either going to have to find it or buy a new one. But the net result was that when the wind picked up, it caught the edges of the sail and blew it off the boom. Now it wasn't a huge disaster because I did have the sail ties on it, but it was pretty loose. So somebody, I don't know who, came along and grabbed some extra line that I had kicking around on the deck, and they tied it back up for me. And then when I examined the whole mess, I realized my topping lift wasn't working properly, didn't know why, and my outhaul wasn't working properly, didn't know why. So I took the sail off the mast and the boom, and I stuffed it down below here. It's a very clever way to store a sail, I thought. I would have folded it up and put it away properly, but it's still a little bit breezy out up on the deck, and I didn't want to risk seeing this thing going over into the water. I'm just working by myself, so I just stuffed it down below. Literally stuffed it. So I know it's kind of lame, but I'm going to have to figure out how to get that bent back on the mast and secured properly. And I probably won't do that until I have a sail cover to cover the whole thing with. In today's news, I'm going to continue working on the bilge pump. I chose to go with Rule and their 1100 gallon per hour model. There's a 500 gallon an hour model for $10 cheaper or something like that. I thought, I want to go hard. So this thing is going to go down there, hopefully, and clean out my bilge. Now the bilge is kind of a tight spot, so I'm going to get myself organized and then I'll show you what's in my bilge. Welcome to my bilge. You can see that there is a little bit of water left down in the bottom there. It's about ½ inch or so that the manual pump wouldn't get out. So I'm going to have to get that out of there. Then I'm going to get rid of all the residue of oil or whatever else might be in there. And then I am going to mount my new bilge pump down there. I'm going to check to see if the float switch actually works. I hope it does because I didn't order a new one. But those things have a bad habit of breaking. So let's press on. And the Rule Super Switch has given up the ghost. I'm sure all its brothers and sisters out there in electronic land are mourning deeply, but it's time for a burial at sea. The way I tested this was simply to put an ohm meter across the two leads and then actuate the switch. So there's that, and then activate the switch. It says 0, wide open. So that one, someone play the bagpipes, please. our last post. Rule super switch. Your watch is done. Okay, get.
I just couldn't reach.
So what I'm doing right now is a little chore that I did not know needed to be done until I actually put the sail on. What happened was when I put the outhaul line inside the boom, I guesstimated about how long it would need to be, and I was off by about 10 inches. So I've had to take the boom apart on the deck here, adjust the line, and now I'm going to put it back together again. Hopefully, if all goes according to plan, I will now have a functioning outhaul that will take the sail right down the length of the boom. If not, we'll do it again. The project I'm working on right now is the installation of my new winch. The mast only had one winch on it when I bought the boat, and I just could not see myself sailing effectively with just one winch. I probably could with a combination of one winch and clutches, things like that, but it just struck me as being an unseaman-like way to run a boat. So I got a new winch. Now the challenge with the winch is to get it mounted. This is my new winch. I actually bought it online on Kijiji, and I got an amazingly good deal on it. These things are about $1,400 brand new, which is just way out of my reach. And buying them used, generally about half that. But I got this one for probably about a quarter of that, maybe even less, which I'm pleased about. Now, the mount for this winch is just 5 screws through the brass plate, but the trick is to get the drum off to get to the brass plate. This is a Lumar winch. The winches I have on the boat are Maxwell, and the way you take a Maxwell winch apart is stuffing a screwdriver down where the winch handle goes and unscrewing the screw. These ones don't have that, and it was a bit of a mystery to me how that worked until I realized that you could simply unscrew the self-tailing piece off of the winch, just like this. And with that off, the drum comes off. And with the drum off, I'm now free to install that on my mast, which is what I'm going to do. It's another day, another opportunity to get stuff done. As you can see, the mainsail is missing, and that's because when I ran it up the mast, I discovered that it wasn't cut right. The leech is a little bit too long, the foot is a bit too long, and the luff is a bit too long. When the sail is fully hoisted, it won't lift the boom out of the boom gallows. Of course, that's no good. So I called the sailmaker up. He came out and had a look and agreed, yep, it wasn't cut right. So he's taking it back to the shop to re-sew it. In the meantime, we're working on other projects. The winch is in place. Come and have a look. Here's the new shiny winch. Nicely installed with the main sheet halyard wrapped around it. I'm quite happy with that. It's a welcome addition to the boat. Another little chore I wanted to get taken care of was fastening down the boom gallows properly. The original screws on the foot of the boom gallows were slotted head lag bolts, basically, and slotted head screws, and I just don't get along. I hate them. So I went out and I bought the equivalent in a Robertson head, but what I discovered was just I was using a drill to drive them in. My small drill wasn't strong enough to drive through the steel plate and the wood and the fiberglass, so I got my half-inch drill out, and it was strong enough to drive them in. But when it got down to the bottom here, the torque of the motor just twisted the bit out of the screw heads and tore the socket out. So it basically ripped them up and made them useless. So I went back to the store and I bought hex head bolts, and they have all been screwed down and made fast. So my boom gallows is now solid. Ran the lifelines through the hoops here, and so that job is pretty much done. Lovely hex head bolts. So today's chore is to give myself a tack fitting for my staysail. When I installed the boom, I put an eye bolt through it, and the rigger put a turnbuckle through the eye bolt. And when the sailmaker came out, he went, "Oh, there's no fitting for the tack of the staysail." So the rigger and I put our heads together, and what we're going to do is to slack off the stay, remove the pin through the turnbuckle, and put this shackle through that, and then I'll have another shackle for the tack of the staysail. So that's what I'm working on now. And the trick with that one is that the rig has been tuned, right? The rigger came out and he tuned all the shrouds and the fore and aft stay and so on, and I don't want to mess that up. So he said, what you do is you put a piece of tape around the bolt of the turnbuckle and then turn it out, and when you turn it in, you just turn it up to where the tape is, like magic. So that's what I'm about to do. Let's get busy. So there you have it. I've got a half-inch shackle through the eye bolt and the toggle of the turnbuckle, and that will provide a place for me to put a fitting for the tack of my jib. Now I know that this probably have to have a twisted shackle in there, because the ring is going to sit this way through the grommet of the tack. So I'll have to get one of those shackles that has a half turn in it. But other than that, I now have a jib tack fitting. This is the wire for the bow pulpit lights up there. And I had to cut it when I took the bowsprit off, but I cut it at a place where somebody had cut it previously. So now it's my job to put that back together. I think I'll do that. I think that's enough fun and frivolity for one video, so I'm going to wrap it up, render it, and put it up on YouTube for you guys. Hope you enjoy all these little do-it-yourself chores that I'm doing. Each one of these little bits gets knocked off the list and gets me one closer to being out there. So, in the meantime, fair winds, following seas, and God bless.